If you need to use English at work, there are, of course, many things to consider, including using standard ways of expressing certain ideas in English, whether it's in spoken or written form. But by far, the best way of making progress at work in English is by improving your interpersonal skills. In this video, I'll show you one thing you can do to start interacting with people in English in a business setting. Are you ready? Let's get started. If we haven't met yet, my name is Tanya Meyer and I'm an English as a foreign language teacher to adults, specializing in mindfulness practices to help bring calm, understanding, and joy to your English language acquisition and use in real-life situations. Find out more about how mindfulness can help you improve your language skills by checking out the links in the description box below. Although I've always been fascinated by language and even studied English language and literature at university, it wasn't until I was in my mid-30s that I became a language professional. Before then, I worked in the marine industry and gained 10 years of business experience. And in those days, my boss used to send me to Europe to meet very important people at huge organizations when I was barely 22 or 23 years old. And he expected me to speak with them, even though I had little to zero experience in the business and didn't really understand what the company did. So I was terrified of meeting these people. I mean, what will I say? Similarly, many of my current clients report the same feeling of insecurity when it comes to speaking in English. They say things like, I'm okay with what I do, I know my job, but I still don't feel confident speaking in English. Or, I don't get enough opportunities to practice English. And I don't feel like myself when I speak in English. You know, I can't be spontaneous. I feel tight and tense and nervous, and I just can't relax. Whatever industry you work in, whatever company, and even if you're freelance or you have your own company, you know that each company environment has its own corporate culture and language. Language for meetings, language for emails, language for negotiations, for internal comms, for troubleshooting, and so on. Most of us become more fluent in our own company lingo as we gain experience in our specific roles and start interacting with colleagues, managers, and clients across the organization. But beyond all of this, beyond our role within our company, there's the larger picture. And there's one thing that really improves our performance at work dramatically. And that is our interpersonal skills. And what does that mean? Well, it means being able to go up to people and introducing ourselves, for example, starting a conversation, talking about what we do, what we enjoy, what our interests are, and asking the other what they do and what they're interested in. We all need to nurture this social aspect of ourselves because, in the words of the Dalai Lama, we are social animals who need friends. This is a deep teaching that we rarely give ourselves enough time to consider, and it is that we are all interconnected. And so this brings me to the question of community, of friendship and trust, which is something we often neglect. And how can we find an English-speaking, business-oriented community if we don't live in an English-speaking country? You know, when I decided to create my own English coaching and improvement program that you can find a link for in the description box below, I realized that my new creative activities were pushing me towards opening new doors for myself, and that what I was actually doing was rejoining the business world. Where can I find an English-speaking, business-oriented community here in Mexico? And then it dawned on me. Of course, the British Chamber of Commerce. So I called my friend Laura and I became a member. And after a few events, I had a second insight. Many of my clients would really benefit from meeting others in a business context in English, outside of their company, beyond their role. Meeting people in an English-speaking business environment is a really good idea. Just joining an evening event without having to travel to another country, meeting other business-oriented people, speaking about what we do and learning about what they do is an authentic way of making progress with our English. So I rang my friend Laura again and asked her if she'd let me interview her, and she agreed. Please enjoy our interview in which she explains a little bit about the history of the British Chamber of Commerce, what it actually does, how it brings people together, and facilitates relationships to develop among its members, and how this, in turn, generates business in a natural, organic way. Please enjoy. Hello, here we are at the, well, can you guess where we are? Not England. We're in the British Chamber of Commerce here in Mexico City, and with me is the lovely Laura Atkinson. And so I'll be asking Laura a few questions about the British Chamber of Commerce and how it might be helpful to you. And so let's get started. Hi Laura, thank you so much for having me today. I really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much for being here, Tanya, and setting this all up.
Great. So first of all, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? What do you do here at the Chamber? How long you've been here? And so on.
Okay, so, well, first of all, I've been in Mexico since 2008, and I've been working at the Chamber since 2010, so about 12 years. These days, I kind of oversee all kind of commercial aspects of the Chamber here in Mexico, and I also help British companies set themselves up here in the country as well. So those are my main roles here in the Chamber, although we're a very small team, so we all do a little bit of everything.
Right. And so what does the British Chamber do? I mean, what is its function?
Okay, so we kind of do everything that we can to grow and develop the bilateral relationship, I would say, between the United Kingdom and Mexico. So obviously that means the long-term goal of increasing trade, but it also means like sharing the best practice from both countries and for the development of each country, like the United Kingdom and Mexico. So we're always trying to look at our ethics policy, what we're doing in terms of equality, what we're doing in terms of sustainability, to promote those best values, and both in Mexico and also in the UK. Working as well with the British Embassy, we also have a good relationship with the Mexican Chamber of Commerce in the United Kingdom. So I would say that's kind of the overall goal of what we're looking to do. And then on the trade side, and kind of like maybe a bit, looking at kind of trade numbers and increasing trade in goods and services. Obviously, we will support companies trying to commercialize themselves here in Mexico, and we can also provide some initial guidance for Mexican companies who would like to do business in the UK.
Great. And so what about, so that's like organizations and companies. Do you get individuals approaching the Chamber?
Absolutely. I mean, we have a membership of about almost 200 members. Some of them are huge corporate members, some of the big names like AstraZeneca, GlaxoSmithKline here in Mexico, HSBC. But we also have a lot of individual members in our chamber who are also really happy to help, to always look for different ways to help them in growing their business, and particularly in relation to business between the United Kingdom and Mexico.
Great. So how many countries is the British Chamber of Commerce present in?
Okay, so that's a very interesting question. Probably one I don't know the exact answer to, but I think it's kind of interesting, and I will explain why. So all around the world, these British Chambers of Commerce kind of came up, I think, almost organically. I imagine a lot of international chambers of commerce started it the same way. So I don't think it was one central organization or one central British Chamber of Commerce like ordering I don't know, people from embassies all around the world to create different British chambers of commerce. It was more just groups of individuals who were obviously looking to develop the bilateral relationship between the United Kingdom and, in our case, Mexico, that decided to come together and set up a chamber of commerce, no? And it's kind of interesting, even when you look back at old newsletters, how little information also there was about just trade statistics, trade numbers, and this British Chamber of Commerce was there, decades ago, printing out all the figures, kind of informing of opportunities for trade between the United Kingdom and Mexico, informing on news coming from the United Kingdom, and so sort of growing British businesses in Mexico. But like I said, because it's kind of organic, I imagine that, I know of in most major developing and developed countries in the world, you will almost certainly find a British Chamber of Commerce. Many of us are also associated or affiliated with the Central British Chambers of Commerce in the United Kingdom, although that's not necessarily a requirement, although it obviously it's a nice way to make sure we have a good relationship with the Chambers of Commerce in the UK. So maybe the British Chambers of Commerce, I would say, kind of started up kind of independently all around the world, and sometimes they come together, start kind of sharing best practice, not necessarily standardizing services, but like comparing notes to make sure we're all offering the best service that we can, learning from one another. But it's not something that's kind of obligatory. We're not a chain of British chambers.
Okay, but there is a central British Chamber of Commerce in the UK, right?
There is in London. So there are chambers of commerce throughout the UK. There's like a Manchester Chamber of Commerce, a Liverpool Chamber of Commerce, a Sheffield Chamber of Commerce, and we've visited, and we actually have quite a lot of friends there and a good relationship with those chambers. And there is a central British Chambers of Commerce organisation that I understand oversees many of those chambers in the UK. And over recent years, or during the time that I've been with the British Chamber, have started to reach out and establish a much closer relationship with British Chambers of Commerce further afield, like ourselves.
Right. Yeah. Oh, that's so interesting. Okay, but so not necessarily, like you say, more than anything else, it's an opportunity for business to develop in the bilateral relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're always, as a chamber, and I think when I kind of meet other representatives of other British chambers of commerce around the world, I think we're all really keen on like working with other organisations. I think the feeling is that we're much better together than apart, but really we were all founded and established apart, and so it's kind of nice nowadays that we do a lot more together, and pre-pandemic particularly we met up sometimes, and we still have a close relationship with chambers around the world. And in our case, in the British Chamber of Commerce in Mexico, we are one of the founding members of the Association of British Chambers of Commerce in Latin America and the Caribbean. So we have regular meetings with those chambers to see how we can help our members here in Mexico expand to the rest of Latin America, and someone who's doing business in Chile, how can they expand to Mexico? So we're really working together to make sure we provide the best service to all of the members we have across the region.
That's awesome. It really is, and networking in this way and collaborating, the spirit of collaboration between not only the UK and Latin America, but between the different countries in Latin America through the chamber.
Exactly, and I think all chambers of commerce, I think networking, that's a great word that you've used, because obviously a chamber of commerce networking is very one of the key, most important services that we kind of offer. It's sort of maybe intangible, but I think whenever members of a chamber are active, like you have been, Tanya, and come to events and participate in business sector groups, you start building up those contacts, and business starts happening kind of by itself, it's almost spontaneously, and that's kind of what we're always looking to create well, especially in our chamber, but I know that in British Chambers of Commerce all around the world.
That's so cool. I love it. And I love being a member, and I'm so happy to be here, I have to say that. One more question is, well, you kind of already said it, but what would you say is the most rewarding aspect of working here?
There are so many things that I really enjoy about working with the British Chamber of Commerce here in Mexico. I really like that we are a small team in Mexico. I know that other British Chambers of Commerce around the world are a bit bigger. So I really like the social aspect and the fact that you get to do a bit of everything. We have various business sector groups covering sectors such as finance, energy, health. So it's really interesting for me to kind of get to learn from these, many of our members are experts on their different industries. So we get to learn so much in a way that I don't think I would have ever had the opportunity to learn so much about certain sectors. So I really enjoy that. And of course, it's wonderful when you see a business that has been visiting Mexico, over the past, many years, and they've kind of been coming in and like investing the time, making the effort, understanding that Mexico is a market where you need to have a long-term vision. But then when you see them come into the market and suddenly maybe they'll have an office in our business center and you can see them doing business in Mexico, I think that's really exciting. I love to see that.
Awesome. And so these are the offices. Would you say this is the business area of Mexico City?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I guess it's all kind of subjective, but I would say this is one of the most prestigious business districts of Mexico City, as far as I can tell. And especially, I think our location is sort of second to none in this city, and we're very lucky. Just in front of us, we have obviously the flag for Campo Marti, we've got the auditorium, and behind us is all of Polanco, the business community. Reformer is ahead of us, which is obviously another. And the castle. I mean, probably not business, but I really like looking at it. It's really pretty. And so, so I think it's a great location to be in for doing business.
Great.
Where we are.
And so would it be okay if I just show the offices, because there is opportunity for people to use the offices here at the British Chamber, right?
Absolutely, yes, please do. The offices are available to rent on all sorts of different timescales. There's also meeting rooms for members of the chamber, and we always love to see members of the chamber coming in and using this space because it's for the membership.
Great. Well, thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. Thank you to you, Tanya.
And here we are. This is the British Chamber indoors. So what do we have here, Laura?
So here we have like hot desk space, office space, available on either a short-term agreement or a longer-term agreement for members of the chamber and British companies doing business in Mexico.
Great. Lovely colours, very British colours.
And as you can see, we have 2 meeting room spaces. So this is our large one over here that can fit over 20 people. And there's a slightly smaller one over to this side that are also available to chamber members.
Great. There are British Chambers of Commerce all over the world. So do a quick search to find the nearest one to you. And just like the 23-year-old me, who traveled to faraway places and spoke to people who were much more experienced than she was, even when she felt insecure and nervous, I encourage you to overcome any fear or trepidation you might feel and approach the British Chamber of Commerce to join a community that can help you with your business and with your English. And if you're ready to join an English coaching program that supports you with your English confidence and fluency, with many more ideas, a clear path to follow, and assistance and encouragement along the way, take a look at the links in the description box below. And I'll see you in the next video. Until then, bye for now.